Last Friday, I had the privilege of going to an event. I was crazy last week and it crept up on me, and we booked it down to Atlanta, Georgia, to a Live to Lead event that John Maxwell puts on every year. And this year, I'm going to say, was definitely the best year that I've ever been to. The speakers were amazing. It was like one great person after another great person after another great person. And it was just fantastic. So there are so many notes. I think that this could take 3 Wednesdays to go over the notes from the event. However, I wanted to share with you some of the ones. I don't have them. You all are going to have to take notes because I don't have all of them written out for you. However, I just wanted to kind of hit some of the highlights. And oops, let me share my screen really fast. And then, well, maybe, hold on. Uh-oh, oh no. Let's see. Oh, my mouse is being weird. Okay, there we go. Okay, perfect. Well, that's off centered, but would love to hear one thing that you are grateful for today. If you can type it in the chat as we get started. Definitely, I'm grateful for the experience to have gone there last week. It was just incredible. And I can't share enough. Amy, family, yes, thank you, thank you. Would love to hear what else you guys are grateful for today. I'm also grateful for this fall weather. I love the fall weather that we are all experiencing. So continue to type what you're grateful for, and I'm going to start sharing some of my ahas. And those of you that were on, that came to the event, I know I have several of you on. I know Troy, you were on, and a couple of others of you. So would love to hear your all's feedback in the chat too, or unmute or whatever you guys want to do to share some of your feedback. So one of the first people that we were privileged to hear is a lady named Jamie Kern Lima, and some of you may have heard of her before. So Jamie Kern Lima is. Uh-oh, hold on. We got to go. Do you see it? Oh, I got it. Okay. Okay. Jamie Kern Lima is actually her story is incredible. First of all, I mean, we had a private lunch with her, or private breakfast with her and John Maxwell in the morning. Jamie Kern Lima, for those of you that don't know, she founded It Cosmetics, which is a foundation line, and then a ton of other makeup on top of that after that. And her story is nuts, you guys. She had failure after failure after failure. We don't have time for me to go into her whole story because that would take our entire 30 minutes. However, she told her story at how she just never gave up after she had many, many, many failures. A couple of notes that I had from her. Well, let me fast forward to the final, and I'll tell you the middle. The final was just in 2017. She sold her company to L'Oreal for $1.2 billion with a B dollars, after many, many years of being told no over and over and over again. And some of the things that stuck out to me from her, she said that the people that made it big, the people that she's seen, and herself included, were the people that showed up the same way in the green room that they showed up outside. They showed up on stage the same way that they showed up at home. They showed up the same way in front of people. They weren't somebody different in front of people and then different behind closed doors. And then she said that she wasn't distracted. She said the other thing that people that make it big have in common is they're not distracted by everything else. They stay authentic to what they know is true. And she said, we all have our own secret sauce. And so don't dilute your own secret sauce. Know what that is. And then she said, creativity comes from the moment that you actually get out of yourself and you can be still with yourself, and you can actually take time to listen. She said 90% of the things that we worry about actually never even matter or come to fruition. She was actually talking about worrying about your kids at that point. But her story is incredible. She was just told no so many times, over and over and over and over again. And she actually got a call from an investor at one point that was an investor that had taken a ton of businesses to go public and to $1 million businesses, and just she felt, oh, I think I am I back? Was I frozen? Sorry guys, my computer's doing this weird thing today. Let me try to plug it up over here. She finally got a call to meet with this investor, and she just knew that this was the time that she was going to get a yes. And she said that she was super prepared. She felt great about it. She was like, we've been told no so many times. And she went and met with him and she said everything was going great. And he said, your product is amazing. You know, what you put together is amazing. All these things are so great. But it's going to be a no for us. And she said she just felt like punched in the gut. She was like, you're kidding me. But she said her first thought was to just say, okay, why? Can you give me feedback? Like, why is it a no? What is the feedback? And he said, do you really want me to be brutally honest? And she said, yes. And she said at this point, just she kind of like all she could zone in on was listening to, what his feedback was. And she said he looked at her and he said, you're kind of a bigger girl and people will only buy makeup from somebody that looks like a model and that is beautiful and thin and all this stuff. And so she said that she wasn't even mad and she couldn't even cry. She said she just was kind of in such shock. But she said instantly in that moment, she felt something inside of her that just said, he's wrong. And she said that she just wasn't going to let it affect her. And so she said she just kept going and kept going. And fast forward, when she sold her company to L'Oreal for $1.2 billion, that guy sent her an email after it was on the cover of the Wall Street Journal and said, I was wrong. Congratulations. And so there were just so many lessons around that. She said, for those of you that are people of faith, she said many people gave her a no, N-O, but God gave her a knowing, K-N-O-W-I-N-G. And so she said, which one do you actually listen to? Do you listen to the times when people tell you no, or do you listen to her car in front of the oops, I don't know why it's doing that, you guys, my computer's freaking out. She would drive her car and she would park in front of QVC headquarters in Philadelphia, and she would watch people all day long. She would work from her car and she would watch people go in and out of the front door of QVC, because she said she was actually visualizing what it would feel like one day when they gave her a yes, and when she actually was walking through the doors of QVC. And it took a long time and many, many no's, but ultimately they called her and she sold out, and it was great. But she didn't have the money to fulfill the products of the orders that she got from QVC. And so she said that she went to 22 banks and every one of them told her no. And yesterday I was talking to somebody and I said, think about that. We would go to like 2 or 3 banks and we would be like, okay, well, it's not meant to be. Or, maybe this isn't the right time. No, she went to 22 banks and every one of them told her no. And on the 23rd bank, she said California Bank and Trust gave her a yes and gave her an SBA loan. And that was how she had the shot on QVC. And she said, which I thought this was cool, she still banks with them today. Reminded me of the Kendra Scott story. So a couple of the last notes from Jamie Kern Lima. Oh my gosh, I just have so many. Okay, she said, intuition is like a muscle. It's a lifelong journey on how to build it, and you have to get still because that's usually a great way to exercise it. She said, if you're one of the brave ones to actually go out and follow your dreams and do what you know that you can do, and be a great leader, or be, whatever that is that you feel called to do. If you're one of the brave ones, then she said, then you have to get really good at cheering yourself on because the larger that you grow or the more that you do, people don't always cheer for you. And so you have to get really, really great at cheering yourself on. And she said that it took her a while to be able to do that. But when she got it and when she did, she said she felt like she was in the zone, because she said no one can tell you that you're not a fit. If you know something in your heart, or if you know that you're meant to do something, or that you are where you're supposed to be, then don't let anyone else tell you that. And she said, this was the last one, I promise I could keep going. She said, sometimes when you have a setback, what you think is a setback in your life could actually be God actually setting you up for something else. So she said, setbacks are usually setups. And so you can't get focused on those. So the next speaker was Ed Milet, and in full transparency, I've said this before, he has a great podcast and I love his podcast. And I've always thought that he has a huge ego. and Adam has always listened to him and really loved him, but Adam had met him in person. And so Adam said, I know that you think that he has this huge ego, but when you meet him in person, I think you'll feel differently. Okay, my computer is officially freaked out and it just completely shut out, but thankfully Heather is in the room. So I won't have a slide, but I will, I'll keep going. I don't know what's happening with my computer. Sorry, guys. So Ed Milet, so Adam, said, wait till you hear him in person. So he talked about influence and persuasion, and holy cow, he stole the show. I don't know. Troy, would you agree? Was he your favorite? He was.
I mean, I have a man crush on him, so that was before I ever walked in there. But yeah, he was really powerful.
It was crazy. And for those of you that are in our Columbus office today, I'm actually going to show you a clip. I don't know, hopefully I'm not going to get in trouble from the Live to Lead people, but I'm going to show you a clip of one of his talk that he gave to us, because it was just amazing. So he talked about the difference between influence and persuasion. And he said, every one of us wake up every single day. And if you are in the business, if you're in any sort of business, or even if you're not, if you're just a human being, what you sell is happiness. And we think that we sell another house, or we sell mortgages, or we sell, some of you on here work for other corporate. This is not a real estate group, totally. So you might, whatever you sell, wherever you work, whatever you sell. He said, we think that what we sell is what we sell, but at the end of the day, what we truly sell is actually happiness. We are in the business to sell happiness. And he said, every single day, you are always making people feel one way or another. And you need to remember that. And so he asked us to ask ourselves the question, how do we make people feel? Every single day, how are we making people feel? He said influence, in his definition, is energy, period. That's it. It's energy. He said, so we have to be intentional about our energy, and we have to be aware that we are always making people feel one way or the other. He talked about what an evangelist is. And he said an evangelist, in his definition, is a person who seeks to convert others, especially by public preaching. So he said the purpose of having influence and being able to have great energy is so that you can persuade people and you can sell them happiness. And you do that, and then they convert others by publicly preaching. So like some of you have invited your friends to Wednesday Morning Mindset because you've liked it, right? So you might be an evangelist. And so he said, people don't have to believe what you're saying, but they have to believe that you believe what you're saying. So they might not believe what you're saying, but you have to believe it, and they have to believe that you believe it. And the reason is because nobody likes to listen to somebody that's inauthentic or that isn't a genuine leader, right? They can smell it from a mile away. He said the more certain person always influences the less certain person. So when you're really certain about something that you believe or about yourself, you're always going to influence the person that is more less certain. So I was thinking about an example of this, and I'm just going to use real estate because a lot of you are in real estate. And think about, as a realtor, when you're going on a listing appointment and you are very certain and you believe what you are telling them, and they believe that you believe what you are telling them, versus you going up against somebody who maybe is a little less certain and they don't believe maybe what they're saying, or they don't even really know, and they're a little uncertain. Who do you think that the seller is going to go with, right? The person that's more certain. And so he said the more certain person always influences the less certain person. And he said that really at the end of the day, everybody just wants to be loved. They want to be cared for, and they want to be helped somehow. And so we have to figure out how to do that. He talked a little bit about momentum. And I loved this part so much. This is actually what I'm going to show today in one of our meetings, but he said a little momentum will take you a long way in your life. And so if you're at a point where, or you've ever been at a point, all of us have, where maybe we haven't been winning, or it hasn't been going exactly how we wanted it to go. He said, sometimes if you aren't winning, you just need to get in proximity of winning. You need to go be around other people who are winning, or you need to be in an environment that's winning. You just need to get in proximity of winning, because the proximity of winning will actually pull you, and it'll give you a little bit of momentum, and a little bit of momentum can make a life-changing difference in your life. He said, you just have to keep planting seeds over and over and over and over. And he talked about just having like one more of something. So he said, you might just need like one more little win, or one more day, of being sober, or one more conversation with somebody, or one more shot. The power of one more is huge. And he said, we underestimate the power of what one more could be. And his dad passed away. And so he was talking about having how his dad kind of taught him that and having like one more opportunity with his dad. But he said sometimes we just need that little bit of momentum to keep going. And again, I have so many notes from Ed. Troy, would you add anything and I hate to put you on the spot. I don't even know if you have your notes in front of you, but would you add anything that I missed on Ed Milet? I'm trying not to give it all away because I want to do a whole morning on him.
No, I mean, I think it was those were the big takeaways, I think, from him. I mean, I think his message was pretty simple and straightforward. If you listen to him, his whole like catchphrase is max out, but really that equates to doing that one more thing. One more rep when you're working out, one more phone call when you're making calls, one more appointment, just to create the momentum. And he tells, I don't know what you're going to share later, so I don't want to give it all away, but the story with his son and just like realizing that you just have to do one more thing. Sometimes it's showing up a little bit differently one time, and then just that momentum that's created by just doing one small thing sometimes.
Yep. That's what I'm going to show later. And I'm going to try to show this to you guys next Wednesday. So tune back in, but I'm trying to figure out how I can like play it because we're not supposed to share it. So, however, that's what I'm going to share on that. Okay. How am I doing on time? Okay, perfect. So, a couple of things I want to share with you from John Maxwell that John shared.
Hey, Dana, one more thing I'll add. I just reviewed my notes and you may have already said this, but he used his wife as the example. And he said that he thinks 73% of the time in their arguments, he's been right. And yet he's still never won an argument with his wife. And he said the reason for that, and I'm sure it's somewhat of a joke, but he said the more certain person always influences the less certain person when there is rapport. So he said, I can tell you, no matter how right I am, my wife is certain that she is right. And he said, he said 3 days of no hugs, and he's willing to admit he's wrong about anything.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that was a great example. I just found one last thing that he said, and this was probably my favorite quote of the entire day. And Ed, actually, I've heard it before, but Ed Milet said it. And I'm a person of faith, so obviously this really resonated with me, but he said, God does not call the qualified, he qualifies the called. And I was like, man, that is so good. I absolutely loved that so much. So I want to share with you one of my favorite lessons that John gave us, and it's the law of the inner circle. So we'll kind of wrap up with this one. John wrote a book called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, and it's old. It was like one of the first books that he actually ever wrote, but he's revising that. And so he's coming out with an updated version of that. I believe he said next year, and I cannot wait for that because it's one of my favorite books. But law number 11 is the law of your inner circle. And this one really hit me. And I just thought this one was super good. So he said, those that are closest to you actually determine your level of success. So whether that's people you're in business with, whether that's your family, whether that's your friends, whether that's your neighbors, whatever it is, the people that are closest to you actually determine your level of success. And he said, you should be spending 80% of your time with your 20% people. 80% of your time with your 20% people. He said, everybody in your inner circle is always carrying two buckets. And I thought this was such a great analogy. I shared this on Linda and I's podcast this week. He said, everybody's carrying two buckets. One bucket is filled with water and one bucket is filled with gasoline all the time. And so he said that when there's a problem that happens or something comes up, are your people pouring water on the situation, or are they pouring gasoline on the situation? Are they pouring water, meaning that they are putting out the problem? You don't even know that it exists. They're making it go away. They're calming everybody down. Or are they pouring gasoline and they're fueling it, right? They're making it worse, or they're making it bigger, or they're making it better. And he said, because your inner circle can be your greatest asset or your greatest liability. And so I thought that these were really great. He gave 7 questions that you should ask your inner circle. And this isn't just about people that work for you. It may be about people that you work with, or that your friend inner circle. But number one is, do they live out good values? Are they a good person? Really, this is probably the most important one to me. Do your values align with their values? Because he said great companies have great values, period, the end. Great organizations, great teams, great anything, they have really great values. Number two, do they have high influence with others? Because leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less, according to John. And so does your inner circle have high influence with other people? Do they have high influence with your clients? Do they have high influence with the other people in your organization, whatever that looks like? Number three, do they have a high giftedness that complements the team? So for example, if Monica is working with a team, her giftedness needs to be higher in what she's supposed to be in than what other people's are, but their giftedness might be higher, because your inner circle's giftedness has to complement the team, and their gifts have to be higher than most people in that area that they're called to do for the team or for the group. Number four, can they lead well and equip others? Basically, he said, can they work themselves out of a job? Are they constantly growing, and are they constantly leading well and equipping others so that they can continue to rise? Number five, this is probably the second most important to me. I would think number six would be, but it's actually number five. Are they a good fit for the inner circle socially? Do they socially fit in? Linda McKissick calls this the barbecue test. Many of you have probably heard me say that before, meaning, do you like to go have barbecue with them? Do you like to go have a drink with them? Can you go on an overnight trip, everybody together, and you have fun? Do you socially fit in well together? Because you have to like the people that are in your inner circle. And then number six is, can they produce outstanding results? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we have to have results, right? And whatever you're doing, whatever your goal is, whatever you're trying to accomplish, you have to actually have the results. And then number seven, do they value people and serve them? Meaning they want to serve others. He said, if I see you as valuable, then I will want to serve you. And ultimately, we wake up every day really to serve other people, especially if you're in the real estate industry. I always tell new agents, if you don't have a servant's heart, good luck. Let's see how long you last. Because you've got to be able to want to serve people and to have a servant's heart in this business, even on the hard days. And this is in any business. I know not all of you are in real estate. So in any business that you're in, you have to serve other people. He also talked about the law of legacy. And I thought this was really great. One of the things he talked about was our companions. So like, who's going with you along the way, who's climbing up and still going with you as you continue to build a legacy, no matter what your age is, or where you're at financially, or whatever. All of us want to leave and build some sort of a legacy. So who are your companions that are going with you along the way? And he gave an example of Mark Cole. Many of you may have heard me talk about Mark before, but Mark has been with John for, gosh, I don't know, I think almost 30 years. I could be screwing up the time, but a really long time. And he actually is the person that is running all of John's companies, and he's in charge of actually living out John's legacy. And so he said the thing about Mark was, John never promoted Mark, the people promoted Mark. And I thought that was so good, because it's a natural promotion, or a natural progression, if you will. It wasn't he even said at one point that John was like, I got to figure out who this Mark guy is that everybody keeps talking about, saying is doing a great job. He said that the organization and the people, they kept promoting Mark over and over. John really didn't for a while, but he said that Mark hasn't gone from position to position. He has grown from position to position. And I really resonated with that, because I thought it feels so great when you have grown from position to position to position, versus someone just placing you in a position that maybe you haven't grown into yet. And so he just said that Mark was the absolute perfect example of that. And I just thought that was something that was really, really, really good of him to say. And then lastly, he said, oh my gosh, which one do I want to share? There's so many. He said that a lot of us need a renewed sense of belief in what we're doing. We've had a hard couple of years. I think a lot of you would agree with that. That's the entire reason why I even do this on Wednesday mornings, is because many of you, Monica will remember, she's been on since day one, which is the day that we found out we were being shut down due to a pandemic. And I'm like, nope, we are not getting in a negative mindset during the week. Midweek for 20, 30 minutes, we're just going to hop on and we're going to get our mindset right. And you guys keep showing up, so I'm going to keep doing it. But it's been a long time. But he said that he thinks that we need a renewed sense of belief, because it's a lot of it has been a rough couple of years. And so he said, turn down the volume on the negative and on the no's that you get and on the things that frustrate you or the people that frustrate you or whatever. Turn down the volume on that and do whatever you can to just get a renewed sense of belief in yourself, in your leadership, in your dreams, in your goals, and whatever it is that you want to do next. Because sometimes we just need that little bit of momentum, like Ed Milet talked about, and a renewed sense of belief, and we can push way further than what we thought that we could push. And so I have so much, so we'll probably have to do this one again next Wednesday, because I didn't even get to like Jeff Henderson or any of the other amazing people, Don Yeager, who wrote How to Have Great Teams, all these other people. So we'll share those next Wednesday. But that's it for today. Anything else that any of you would add in the last minute, Ethan or Troy or anybody else that was on? I can't see who was on, so sorry, guys. Nope, we're good. Okay, perfect. All right. Well, I hope that you got an aha or a nugget from something this morning, and have a wonderful rest of your week. And I would love for you to hop back on next Wednesday and we'll kind of continue part 2 of this. And I promise my computer will work then. See you guys. Have a great rest of your week. Thank you.
Thank you.